Quite big, and I applaud you for that because it's a big undertaking that you're looking at. And we're going to bring up some pictures here that Shane will run for us. The Veterans Cemetery, what we're looking at, is right across the street from the War Memorial, the Veterans Memorial out there. And so if you can kind of visualize that, you see Highway 20. You got a pointer over there, Dennis, or something you can show them what's going on? Or
try that. Oh, jeez, look how
what Pete's doing over here.
looks like that was unplugged. That didn't still dead.
Oh, you got your... You can use the mouse. Or is that's only on your screen, isn't it?
Yeah.
Huh? Did you try all the plugs?
I'm waiting for somebody to start talking up there.
Yeah.
So just to give you an idea of what's going on while they figure out how to show you exactly where that's going to go.
I'm just going to set my recorder up there.
that's all we can do.
We actually went down to the state and we were talking to Larry and we were looking for dollars. That's and when you look at that, you go, okay, if you take a look, what we're looking at is the knoll on there. If you get another picture that can get us a better, there you go. That's a better description of it. If you look to Dana on the left, you go across and go to the left. That's City Park. City Park's on your left, Dana. Way left. Up your left. There you go. No, you're right down there where that goofy road is.
Here, I work right there, so.
There you go.
Right over here, the City Park would be right here.
That's City Park, exactly.
Yeah, I know I could.
This is Highway 20. Yep.
Right, and that's Highway 20. So when you're coming up Highway 20, yeah, you'll be able to see this thing on the knoll, kind of on the south side of what we're looking at here on that picture is where the Veterans Cemetery would be at. Right to the right, yeah. Who's controlling that baby? Yeah, show us where it's at. You know where it's at? Give it to Dennis.
I got it. How about that?
There you go.
There you go. There's the park, Winter Wonderland, right there. See it? Right there.
City Park here.
Okay, there's City Park. Then you come across, and you see the road that comes from the west going east. Nope, down.
Dana.
The blue line.
Yeah, the road right there.
That's the road that comes right in. Then what we can do, that's South Lake Drive right there. So then you take that road and you travel east, and right in there, further in all those little blocks over there, there's a knoll. And
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'll be back up.
That's the road. You see the turn in?
What's that?
Turn in.
I'll be back up.
Yeah.
That's the road.
Go ahead.
Am I on?
He's working on it.
Oh, okay.
there we go. There we got it. Okay, so we all got kind of an idea where this is going. And what we were doing is we went to the Veterans Association. We talked to Larry Zimmerman, and Dennis was going to come back and at a later time and present to the City Council, present to the veterans, the VFW, the American Legions, and all these, and get these guys on board. And I believe they truly are. So what we're looking for is really a plan of action, you know, that we can get something drawn up, what it's going to look like, and what we can expect to see, and so forth, and how much money it's really going to cost. Because I have had the opportunity to visit with the municipal utilities, and they're good to go at putting in lights for us, you know, running the power over there and putting in the lights. So that would all be lit up, you know, the drive. We know that the road would cost us, what, Dennis, was about
$120,000, I think, was Austin Engineering's estimate to pave the parking lot plus pave the road.
Right, and Shane, if you've got some other numbers that you want to throw out there, you're sure welcome to do that. I don't know if there's any, if we ever talked about, we need bathrooms and we need things like that. So we're going to be looking for some dollars, and we're going to be looking for some support from the state of South Dakota. And I know that you've had Hugh out there looking at the site, and it's just a great site, it really is. And so what they're looking for tonight from the council is just so you understand where we're going, what we're looking at, why we've been talking to Larry Zimmerman and Aaron down in Sioux Falls with the VA. So Dennis, I'm going to turn it over to you a little bit. Just kind of give us an idea. How'd you come up with the idea, and where do you want to see it go?
I guess for about 3-4 years now, the state has been looking for a cemetery on the east side. Everything is on the west side. The National Cemetery is there. There's 2 of them. One is now closed, as you'll see in your booklet. There's 2 state cemeteries on the west side. There's nothing on the east side. And we thought this would be not only a great place for Watertown, but probably some economic development for Watertown, since people will come here for Veterans Day and Memorial Day and 4th of July, and you know, if they've got family that's married or buried there, you know, they'll come and put flowers and everything, buy gas, buy food at the restaurants and everything. So I think, you know, I guess Governor Jankel was buried on in the National Cemetery, and I think if we had one here, he would have been buried here. And I've got some friends that are actually buried out at the National Cemetery that was in Vietnam also, and I know they would have been buried in Watertown if we can get this done.
Dennis, do you mind if they have questions? Just
Yeah,
throw them out?
I'd be glad if I can answer them. Not sure. Be glad
There
to.
may be a ton of questions up here.
What is both other pictures?
There is one other thing that, in working with Stanton Fox a little over a year ago is when we really thought of the idea, and I've been working with Steve all along. Watertown has an ordinance that you can only have 2 cemeteries. So we would have to probably change that ordinance to 3 and have a veteran cemetery, which I think would be a good thing because that would just prolong the life of Mount Hope and St. Mary's. So I think that would be a plus, and I really don't see anybody that would be against that. I know there's a lot of veterans on the east side of the river that's hoping that we can get a veterans cemetery on the east side, and the reason I'd like to push it for Watertown is I think it would be a good thing for Watertown.
Would you ever envision this to go to a point of a national cemetery?
Yeah, I think what we'd have to do is probably get it set up and everything as a state cemetery, and then basically go to national, because everything's red tape there, and just say, would you give us your blessings, and name it a national cemetery, and everything is taken care of, so there's no cost to you, and that it'd be a lot easier than going through appropriations to get money from them. I do know Mike Rounds is working on a little bit but there's been no suggestion where to have it or anything like that. He's looking out to help us out quite a bit.
Dennis, what would be the big difference? You know, we've got the veterans plot out at
Mount Hope, yeah.
What would be the big difference? I realize Mount Hope's getting pretty crowded out there trying to run space, so.
You guys just approved an addition to that a little bit ago, and then I talked to Tom Weeks up there, and he says, I think there's room for about 56, if I remember right, and then you have to look at another area in that, where if we develop this, that we would have, I went up there and measured the square footage and how many burial sites was there, and that's about 80 acres there, and if we projected the same spacing and everything, we could hold about 60,000 grave sites.
So at that point, would we quit using Mount Hope for, I mean, unless there's a family request or whatever, but.
Right, it'd still be optional to any veteran, whether they wanted to be buried here or Millbank or Sioux Falls or the National Cemetery. Everybody still has that option.
Dennis, what kind of, what would be the rate? You said 60,000, that strikes me as being an awful, I mean, I'm surprised that would hold that many, but how many in the course of a year would you anticipate this were up and running would be in term there?
The National Cemetery, I understand, has 2 to 3 funerals a day out in the Black Hills.
Where are the state cemeteries, West River?
There's only 2 that are open for burial. That's the 2 Native American ones. The only other cemetery is the National Cemetery, Black Hills. There's no other cemeteries for veterans actually in the state that are solely veterans cemeteries.
So, Mayor, this is city-owned property, is that correct?
That is correct.
And so there would be, some turnover of that to, or would the city continue to own it?
The city would continue on it.
So we would be responsible for all of its maintenance and such until, or if it ever became a national cemetery then?
Right, and even national cemeteries, I believe they leave it up to the community to take care of it. And that's probably, in talking with Denny Brendan, who is state adjutant, there's places that are willing to give up land for a veteran cemetery, but crunch is taking care of it. It's hard to find either volunteers or organizations that's perpetual, where we take care of all of Mount Hope from here on as long as we have a city, and it wouldn't take that much more to actually mow this area out there. So.
And just to be clear, there's, like you said, 80 acres there, but you would carve out a very small piece of this for the cemetery at this particular time.
We would think maybe 5 acres at the most.
And the Isaac Waltons has got the grasses planted out there, natural grasses. We've talked to them. Dennis and I have had meetings with the Isaac Waltons. They're all on board with this. They're just hands down in favor of doing this for them.
Yes, they are.
Dennis, remind me, what's the name of the one in the city's national cemetery there, Fort?
Snelling.
Yeah. I got a brother that's buried there, and of course, I'm sure he would have been buried here if that opportunity was there. If you've never had an opportunity to go to a national cemetery,
very nice.
It was just totally amazing. Just like no words can describe it. I mean, you can look at it from any angle, and everything was in perfect rows. And it was.
And I've been to Arlington Cemetery, and that is about the 3rd most visited site in Washington, D.C. I think they get like 4.5 million visitors every year.
And I wouldn't think that we're doing it for economic development reasons. I mean, I would definitely say I'd be proud to be part of the city of Watertown to be able to see that happen. It to me, doesn't have anything to do with the economic development. So,
I guess I would echo what Randy said. Do you anticipate, now you have in your folder here about that in the National Cemetery, besides active duty, veteran spouse, widower, do you anticipate being able to do that now with this, even though it's not a national cemetery yet? So it would.
We'll go probably for a state cemetery first. Okay. And again, it depends on, I know the sales tax for state is down, so it's going to be a little tough getting money out of them. But if we're going to do a bunch of local fundraising, and our goal is going to be $100,000 to raise for this privately.
Yeah, you can knock on my door. Anyway, okay, so then it will be eligibility here, regardless if it's this local or state. It'll be the same as the name.
And what they do there is you're both buried in the same grave.
Right, but I think that's important, and that's why some people ended up out at Mount Hope to be all together, but if they could all be together at this one, that would be even better. So, okay, great.
Dennis, what kind of water issues do we have either with the site itself or the surrounding area? I mean, I've seen that totally underwater out there. It's not
Yeah,
really-
I think if you look at that third page in that booklet there,
Yeah, it's right up on the screen here, Shane.
Yeah,
the floodplain and flood.
the 100-year flood is the pink, and then the blue is the 500-year. So our land is still out of the 500-year flood zone.
The only thing we may have to acknowledge or be careful of is when we build an access road in there, then we'll have to raise up that access road out of the floodplain.
You know, I guess we haven't really talked to the DOT if there's a chance to get in off Highway 20.
I have. It's represented in my other drawing.
That was gonna be one of my next questions, is when you were doing that estimate, did that include that road off Highway 20? I don't think it did, did it?
The dimensions from the DOT's perspective is that either one of those access points off of Highway 20 would be eligible for construction, so.
I see one, show me the other one.
The other one's down below, right?
One's down in the corner and one's on the top.
Okay.
The one down in the corner, the bottom corner would probably be
Most likely.
less money, more logical, right?
Right.
Because would we have to do anything with the road coming in off from the west, you know, so that we're out of the floodplain?
I'd raise it up.
So if we looked at a cost, you know, as far as us, it would probably be better from the east.
Yeah, the highway would be my first choice, and then to the west would be a second choice.
That building on the bottom, just for that's Smith Equipment, isn't it?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Just so everybody kind of knows where it's situated. So.
If everything fell into place on this, including the funding, what would be your timetable on this?
Well, I guess me personally, I'd like to see it start construction in the spring. Probably the big thing would be to get the road in and then start the facade and get the grass growing, nice grass for bluegrass for the cemetery, and we'd have to probably put a small building out there for storage and flags and like that, and then probably a decorative fence around the cemetery, and then with utilities, they said that in a year they will have poles that they are replacing that are in very good shape. If we wanted to light the road along there, that they'd be glad to use those poles, so that would cut some of the cost.
And they also talked LED lighting and things, you know, to keep the cost down, so it would be very, very nice.
And I guess I don't see anything better use of that land, but I'm probably a little biased to use that as a veteran cemetery. And I think we'll get the blessing of the state, because they've been looking at getting one in the eastern part. It's just whether they're going to be able to help fund us.
Are other sites being considered at this time in the eastern part of the state? Do you know?
There's been quite a bit of talk about places in between Yankton and Sioux Falls, and they have a little larger number of veterans down there just because of population. So, but that's one reason why we're pushing this forward a bit to get it into Watertown rather than down there. Sioux Falls got enough other stuff.
Yeah, and Larry said we're a leg up on with our property here and love the spot, you know, because they don't have that ability to go in and have this 80 acres.
Yeah.
Do you think it would be far enough away too that if we got ours going, that I think even if they did decide to do something, we'd still be in pretty good shape.
Right.
It's a pretty fair distance.
Right. That's the big thing, I think, that, and this is the first step to get your guys' approval to utilize the land and use a small part of it right now, and then eventually grow as, you know, I look at the Korean veterans, they're all in their 80s, the World War II veterans. If you went to the veterans program there was maybe 12 World War II veterans left that came there to get awards, and all of us in Vietnam are now 60 plus. So,
You know, I'm going to ask Dennis if there's anybody in the audience who wants to come up and say a couple words. This is your opportunity, because let's just open it up for some conversation, and if you've got questions or any suggestions.
I'll say a
Randy,
little something.
Just tell us your full name and...
I'm Randy Holliday. I'm from Hayti, South Dakota, and I've got 2 uncles buried out in the National Cemetery, okay? There was 5 of my brothers, or my mother's brothers that were in the service, and 2 of them are buried out there. One was a retirement from the Navy, and he's not buried there. One was a retirement from the Air Force. He's not buried there either. They're buried in other places around the nation. This thing would, as far as I'm concerned, would really help. And they all grew up here in the Hazel area. And 5 out of the 6 boys were in the service at that time. There's 3 of us sons, okay? My brother is buried at St. Henry's Catholic Church, and I've got another brother still alive. He's in Sioux Falls, and I really believe that there's a lot of people that would use this, and it would be a tremendous asset. And just think, we're about halfway, little over halfway up and down 29. It would be easy to get here, and really be nice access to go to the monument that's right across. My dad's on that monument. All 3 of us boys are on that monument. And there's a lot of people in this area that are on that monument. And I think this would be a real good thing for the community. And it would show all the veterans in the state of South Dakota how much they're appreciated. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Randy. And I think, Dennis, are there not on the Veterans Memorial, is there like a couple thousand names out there?
I guess I'm not sure. I know there's...
Mike? Mike? How many's out there?
I think there's like 2,600 now.
It's amazing, yeah, like 2,600 people, names on those, and they're not just from here, they're from all over.
Right.
It's amazing, so, yeah.
And I think we would be affected by western Minnesota and some in North Dakota that would have family here in town. Great place to be buried and come visit family in the meantime and on the holidays and that type of thing, so.
You guys got any other questions? Yeah, all right, come on up. Or they can hand you a microphone here.
I'll talk long enough. I'll put my school teaching voice on. Location is very important. I have a cousin, my godparent is buried out in the National Cemetery at Sturgis. I visit that cemetery very often, and I'm always amazed. It's just manicured and it's beautiful. And I've even thought about being buried there myself, my wife and I. But his widow, very good friend of mine, well, he's my cousin, and so she would be also. But every time I go through Sturgis, I stop, and this is wonderful, the iPhone. I take a picture of myself with Paul, and I send the picture back to his widow. And I said, I'm here visiting Paul today, and I'm doing most of the talking. And that is she is so appreciative of that. And she said, Myron, the one thing I don't like about him being buried out there is there's days when I'd like to drive out to the cemetery and just visit the grave. And I can't do that. She lives in Brookings, so it's about a once-a-year deal. And when that first time I heard that from her, I said, we need one of these from South Dakota. Cut that travel time down. So there's a lot of widows out there that support this too. The question that I have, I think you answered it, is with these, are you considering stacking? The husband and wife stacking, that's what they do out there.
Yes.
Another question I would have out there, I know there's no cost, to the deceased. And would that carry forward here? Those are some questions that we'll probably get in the cart ahead of the horse, but those are things that I'm aware of out there. They have a chapel on the grounds out there that you're familiar with, and the families can use that for their burial ceremony or whatever. So there's a lot of good things that are going on out there. So that's just my 2 cents worth, okay?
Absolutely, we do appreciate it, Ryan. And I think, Dennis, that's a good point, that maybe we need to get now a group together, that we can get a plan, we can get some folks together, I'd gladly be on that. We'll get a plan out there, and then, once we do that, I think that's when we take it to Hugh and say, you know, Hugh, we need $200,000 from the state. And I think once we have that plan and that support from the state, and I believe the city would be on board with this thing. And I do believe it'd be easy to raise dollars.
Dave Christensen, I'm a veteran. I also think this is an opportunity. Dennis has been working hard, and it's another opportunity for Watertown to show leadership and bring these people here where they should be buried instead of driving 400 miles.
My name is Russ McKee, and I'm from up north of Mississippi. Pardon me. I've been out to Fort Meade several times and visited the veterans out there. And at any point on the east side, it's an overnight. You aren't going to drive 10 hours and go visit a loved one and come back the same day. That's an added expense. I've got 4 family members on the monument here. My dad and my cousins probably would be buried here. My dad is buried in a country church cemetery. The church has been closed for years. It's almost impossible to find someone to come and mow the weeds as the grasses are gone. Veterans need the respect. Thank you.
I think you're absolutely right, that it would be used.
Maybe to answer Myron's question, if it's a designated state cemetery, it would be then the veterans would be buried with no charge.
Go ahead, Dan.
Well, I'm Dana Jones, and most of you know me because I was up there on the other side of that. Most of you know me, and I was on the other side of that counter where you're sitting up there for 4 years, but as commander of the Legion post here in Cottington County, we do an average of 52 to 54 funerals a year. And most of those are in either Mount Hope or St. Mary's, and I'm sure that if those people had a choice, they'd come here because eventually that's going to get full too. And you'll keep adding and adding, but if they had their choice, you know, where would they go? And in my own personal case, I came from 100 miles away from here, and if I start looking for a cemetery plot, I'm probably going to go back to my hometown. But my kids are here, and most of my people that I know are here. If this came up, I'd probably stay here. Thank you.
Thanks, Dana.
Can I say one more thing? When my last uncle died, which was 2 years ago, in about August, and maybe it was closer to Christmas, I don't remember the exact date, but he was cremated, we had him on the mantle, we kept him in our house, at the house, and we set up an appointment to get him buried out there. It was the 26th of June. It took us like 2 months to get an appointment to get in there, because there was like every hour there was somebody to be buried out there at Spearfish. Every hour at that time. So this would help take the pressure off of that. Don't get me wrong, Rapid City and that community out there is a beautiful community. But I'll tell you what, I think if we set up a cemetery here, man, it would be a tremendous asset to eastern South Dakota, all the way from Yankton up here. We're about in the center of 29. How much better could it get? Thank you for your time.
And basically, this is the first step that we got to take. We need your blessing to go forward. Otherwise, I think it'd be a hard thing to get done in Watertown.
Yeah, I think, like I say, Dennis, we're pretty much on board. Dan, did you have something you want to say?
I was just going to say thanks for thinking of Watertown for veterans. This is our opportunity to thank you for all you've done, and just the fact that you're willing to locate here but it's really appreciated. I think we've got a beautiful spot out there, and so I hope this goes through.
Absolutely. Anything else, guys?
One thing else, our club has got 410 members strong, and a lot of them are all the way through eastern South Dakota, even a couple of them in western South Dakota. We got people in Illinois that are club members, Atlanta, Georgia, all over. And this is where they all grew up. They might all come back to this area, folks.
Yeah, and I'm proud to say I'm a life member of that. We're there with you.
And I guess I can't think of a better Christmas gift that you could give to veterans.
I just want to echo that I'm the commander of the VFW here in town. And on my roster right now are close to 725 members. And they're all from mainly Watertown, but Cottington County. And I represent them, and I'm representing them here because what I'll be doing in my meetings is promoting this final place of rest. And I think that Dana and also Jack Kemper of VBA will also probably echo those same things.
I think if you look at the number of veterans in the state of South Dakota, it's about 12% of our population are veterans, if I'm not mistaken. It's pretty darn close to that.
Yeah, it's right around there, I think 72,000 veterans in the state. And I guess during Vietnam there was 9 million that served and over 5 million in Vietnam.
So my suggestion is, Dennis, I think what we really need to do, and hopefully I'm speaking for all of you, we need to get something drawn up. We need to see what it's going to look like. And I think you need to find that person that's like yourself that's going to push this thing and get that done. And I believe the city can help them get some drawings, some renderings of this thing. Would you guys have any issue with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's do that, Dennis. I think, and then once we get that done, then we would know what the costs are.
Yeah.
Shane can get us right down to the dime of what a road's going to cost, right, Shane? Come on. Yeah, big time. And then I think at that point in time, then we ask Hugh and Nancy and Neil to get some bills out there and get some dollars for us. And that's got to be done soon, so
yes.
Let's
we would need a plan, I'm sure, to go to the state to ask for, and our goal with the state is 200,000, and raising 100,000, we think that would get us over the line to get the job done.
Yeah, I just want to echo the appreciation I have. You know, we ran into that in our family with a grandfather and a father and an ex-husband, and now my current husband. All veterans, all would be in different places, or all are in different places, and it would really be nice to have had them all in one spot and not have to worry about, you know, those long distance, and you know, because I can't visit 3 of them, you know, so it's difficult.
Yeah. And one thing we're pushing, of course, this is, like I said, the first step. If we can get beyond this, then we go to the round table, which all the area legislators are going to be at the American Legion on the 15th of December, and we're going to plead with them to help us out. Each one of our groups has meetings this month coming up very shortly, so we'd like to bring that up amongst their members, but if we don't get past step 1, step 2 isn't going to do us any good.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Dennis. Thanks to every one of you for all you've done for us and for America. We absolutely appreciate it. And
appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys. That's the kind of work session I like to see. That is incredible.
Thank you all for that. You got it again? You got it bad?
Next one, we're going to visit about the tornado shelter. Just get some updates on it.
You're not going out either?
No,
None of this is going out either.
no, but we're using, as soon as we figured it out, I turned my recorder on my phone and we got, that's picking up the audio for it all, but we'll get that over into this.
Get it off the speaker somewhere.
Yeah, well, off that camcorder. It's got a pretty decent,
So that's your mic there, huh?
wow.
You got it inside.
It's a thing, one of our boxes, and it just seems like something, the output on it's not working, it's not outputting our live stream.
Hope you get her back.
Yeah,
Thanks.
me too. Are you recording it?
It's fun.
Are you recording it on your?
We're trying to get it there, yeah. That's about all we can do. Is there a speaker anywhere at all that would, we can get close to? I mean, I don't know, any of their speakers?
Just the ones in the
Just above here, that's it.
Okay, here we go. Great night. Douglas, you're up. Let's talk about the tornado shelter.
Let's do it.
Tell everybody about kind of the meetings we've had about it and who's involved and what's going on.
Well, thank you very much.
Stand up and clap for you. I'm just no, we would.
Thank you very much. I'm here just to give everybody a little update, the council and as well as the community on where we're at with the tornado shelter. We've been working on this, I think, for about a year and a half and have applied for a grant, pre-disaster mitigation grant, and we did receive that from FEMA, and we were aware that we did receive it a while back, and then there was some question on the floodplain mappings and things like that. We did finally get the approval letter here about a month ago, so we're ready to move forward onto the next step. And what we're going to do is build a 30 by 40 tornado shelter. The design work has all been done by Gary Stanley. First District has also helped us with this grant process. It's a 25%, 75% match. The city pays 25%. FEMA pays the 75%, up to a certain dollar amount, and that is those funds from the city side have been set aside in the 2017 budget. So we're getting prepared to move on to the next phase, which is building it. We are going to put this shelter, we believe right now, currently is directly to the east of the current concession stand at the soccer complex. And it's going to be somewhere in that area on that berm.
Pete, can you put my screen up?
So what? Yeah, so you can see, it's right in there where the cursor is. That's where we're looking at putting that, and we got a little bit of work to do, making sure we decided to go with. We have sewer and water available, so we're looking at putting running water in this building, and it'll be winterized at the same time the other concession stand building would be winterized. It will be, it can be utilized because of the sewer and water, the bathrooms and things like that for the soccer association, and we got some details to work out with responsibility of cleaning and making sure it's all in order and stuff. But anyway, so that's where we're at on that. We put together a kickoff meeting here last week and trying to get this thing moving forward, making sure we have everything taken care of with sewer and water and lift stations and things like that, and electricity and designing, finishing up. Like I said, most of it's already been designed. It's just a matter of checking the colors out and things like that. So that we'd like to happen over the next month to 2 months to be able to go out to bid probably sometime this winter, probably that January range, first part of February, and hopefully get a good competitive bid with the start time in the spring of the year, and that's what our goal is. So we do know we want to get out to bid before it gets too late in the spring to try and get some good bids put in. So that's what we are looking at as far as an update right now, and we've had a lot of good ideas, a lot of good input, and making sure we do this thing right. We've looked at a lot of different tornado shelters. The main reason this was approved is because of that trailer court not too far away. So we want to work with those folks and have a meeting with them to make sure everybody's aware and put up good signage once this is built. And that's about all I have.
Interesting enough about the locks, how that system will work, so it doesn't open all the time.
Yeah, so our plan right now is to consider anytime there's a tornado watch in our area, these doors would be open electronically, and they just have a battery backup. So this building will have power to it, but if the power would go out for some reason, these doors would still open with just a remote access. And obviously, we would also try and after that tornado watch is over, then we can lock those doors back up remotely. And we're still working on some of the details of making sure we maybe drive by that, someone drives by that just to do a welfare check to make sure nobody's inside and things like that whenever possible. So those are some of the things we're still looking at. So.
Doug, refresh our memory, what's the estimated cost? It's a 25-75 split, but what's the estimated cost on this?
Sure. It was estimated out at about $224,000, and that's with sewer and water estimates and everything. And so I think we should be able to, we definitely won't exceed that, to my opinion, but I think some of the sewer and waters should come in pretty favorable. So we were putting those estimates together without any knowledge of what we really had for sewer and water and stuff. So we should be able to have a pretty accurate estimate here in the next 30 days or so.
Doug, let's move over here. This move from was further north originally. You were talking probably on the other side of the parking, but I'm moving it over here and you've got some further use of the bathrooms and stuff that makes it a little bit more dual use then.
Yes, so you can, for one thing, you can see that sidewalk already leading up to the shelter area where the shelter is going to be. That's a handicap sidewalk, and so we like to try and build and be able to save that, maybe just add on to that so we wouldn't have to rebuild the sidewalk, but I'm determined if we can do that. But yeah, it was originally looking at going to the west of the concession stand building or even possibly across the road, but with sewer and water, this is actually a pretty good area where we're putting this, and to the west of it, to my knowledge, is not as good a deal with sewer and water and things like that. So.
Well, thanks, Doug. I appreciate it. I think this is going to move along really good this spring. All right, I appreciate it. Next is the update on the ice facility. I'm going to have you, Jay, come on down here, and we're going to nail both of them because I want a little information on the park and rec fees that you guys have talked about. Thanks, Dale. Dale, make sure you get that check ready for that cemetery, okay? All right. Counting on you. All right, Jay, we're gonna maybe give a little update on the ice facility, where you're at, what's going on, and then we'll move into some of the fees that were just recently talked about at the Park and Rec.
Okay. Good evening. Is this on?
No.
There we go. Yeah, we're off and running on the new ice facility. It's been an exciting time, and a really exciting time, I think, for the figure skaters and hockey association, because we are busting at the seams at the current facility, but we have had interviews and meetings. The architects and CMAR are in place, and we've recently held a meeting where everybody was involved, from contractors to all the stakeholders, and right now we're just kind of looking at the building design and trying to get Gary Stanley from RSA Architects is working on the building, and now we're just trying to put the pieces together of what goes where in the building, and hopefully the plan would be to again try and get this out for bids in the early spring, so that hopefully by May 1st or so we can begin construction on the new facility. It's a pretty exciting time.
Any questions on the ice? That's easy, we're letting you out. He wasn't ready for this tonight, and I walked in and said, oh, by the way, hey, you need to talk about that.
What do you expect, I mean, if you break ground in the spring, what do you expect that place to do?
My expectation would be that the current facility will be used this season and next season. I don't know that we can do it rapidly enough to have it in play for fall of 2017.
And we do have on the city council needs, and I think it's item, what about, number 14 is actually our architect's contract that we'll be looking at signing, asking for permission. So if you want to move into some of the fees, the park and rec, kind of some of the stuff you had talked about, I think most of us read it in the paper and have visited with you, but just update us a little bit on some of the things that are going on.
Okay, well, the Park and Rec Board has voted on a facility and usage fee package for the 2017 season. Traditionally, we try and do the facility and usage fees in this time period, because with the automatic ACHs that the withdrawals, some monthly withdrawals that folks have on some of the programs, we need to get this in place by January 1st, and then the programmings are traditionally done in February. But what we were trying to do was to lessen that gap between expenses and revenue. So we went through the whole list of items, and there are some increases, and some are based on just trying to facilitate that revenue, but also some of them on recovering costs for what it takes us to put these in place. So just starting with that, go through a list of garden plots. They were raised $5. That is a cost recovery effort. We do till those gardens twice each year and provide irrigation to the gardens. So we thought that the $5 increase, actually from $35 to $40, was in line. Shelter reservations, like at City Park and McKinley Park and these types of things, they went to from $16 to $25. Again, that was to try and recover costs, and that was also something that we looked at neighboring communities of our size that looked at their fees to get a cost comparison, and they were definitely in that range, so we tried to keep it in that range. Also, with the showmobile, we looked at some of the other communities as well, but in the past, there has not been a showmobile rate for nonprofits. That would be, like Thursday Night Live and some of these types of things that we do with the showmobile. And we have a fairly significant cost associated. It takes about 6 man-hours to completely set up and tear down the showmobile. So we're just, again, looking at cost recovery, and then the for-profit, the private rentals were also increased. The trolley, again, more than anything to cover maintenance and manpower costs. That was raised $5 from $25 an hour to $30 an hour. At City Park, campsites went up $1 to $22, and then we now was a good figure to put on those facilities, because they're pull-through pads, and I think they're just going to be extremely popular. Then we went on. We basically, have the new softball complex coming in line this week, and basically that fee stayed the same as what is charged at Cook Complex, and it's only the adult associations that pay for field rental. Excuse me. So that fee was placed on the new five-plex complex as well. Yeah. $30. $30 per field per day. And then looking forward to moving into the Prairie Lakes Wellness Center in 2017, we really didn't have any fee structure set up for the forecourts that we're going to be taking care of there. So we kind of followed the fee schedule that the Watertown School District has, and we put a gym rental rate of $25 per hour per court on that, with a half-day rental for all 4 courts at $400 and a full-day rental at $750. And that would include all the various amenities, tables, chairs, and scorers tables, scoreboards, whatever they needed for that. Moving on, we didn't take any action on the zoo, but the Lake Area Zoological Society did, at one of their meetings, they raised the family and grandparent fee $5 for 2017. But then now we're going to be taking over part of those fees into our budget in 2017 after the first of the year now. Then in golf, there were quite a few changes in golf. Again, what we're trying to do is recover some of those costs and close that gap between revenue and expenditure. But and we basically looked at taking an average of what other courses similar to us receive in revenue. So we took our course in Watertown, Brookings, Pierre, Huron, and Aberdeen. We didn't use any of the Sioux Falls courses because they're quite a little higher anyway. And we basically averaged that out, and that's what we set for the average. So family membership went up $70 from $820 to $890. Married couple went up $50 from $745 to $795. The adult 7-day went from $500 to $540. Adult 5-day went from $400 to $440. The young adult went from $325 to $360, but the youth decided to leave that the same as it was, so there was no change in that, as well as the daily green fees. The only fee that was changed there was the family Sunday after 5, which has been $25 for many, many years. That was raised to $40. Then the driving range, the cost per bucket went up $1. For 5 buckets, went from 18 to 20. For 10 buckets, went from 33 to 35. For 50 buckets, 150 to 160. And then the season pass went from 220 to 250. As well as golf cart rentals went from $8 to $9 for 9 holes. From $15 to $16 for 18 holes, and season, the individual rate went from $400 to $440. The family rate went from $500 to $540, and then on cart storage, that went up from $320 on the gas cart to $380, and the electric cart went from $342 to $400. And then at the cemetery, in the majority of categories, we had a 5% or near increase there to cover costs out there, and project that will raise about $7,500 in revenue at the cemetery. So that's just kind of a brief synopsis. If anybody has any questions or comments.
Jay, probably the most significant ones you talked about there at the golf course. Do you feel those are going to close a lot of the gaps? And I mean, I know as a city we've spent a lot of money to build a outstanding facility out there, and I hope we'd continue to do improvements out there over the years. But like you say, you're closing some of those gaps, and
I don't know if it will completely close the gap, but it will make it closer. And basically the golf course has been in construction the way it seems for the last 10 or 15 years, and it looks like now going forward we're going to have a 27-hole golf course that should be open to play and very, very readily usable for all our golfers here in the community.
Kind of strange I'd ask that question. I ain't had a club in my hand in 5 years, but I mean that is a huge cost to Watertown, but also a huge asset to Watertown. And like I say, I know we've spent a lot of money out there, and I'd hope that we continue to keep it up. And
yeah, well, just in the last few years with the irrigation project and the yellow course greens project, that was over $2 million. And we do, in comparison, as we took this average, we are the only 27-hole golf course. All the others are 18. So,
Jay, these fees were discussed or passed at your meeting just last week, and we passed our 2017 budget a couple months ago. I'm assuming they're pretty well in line with what we were anticipating for fees for 2017.
we're certainly attempting to do that. You know, you never know. Parks and Recreation is very weather dependent, but if we get a good season, we would hope to raise in that $35,000 to $40,000 in additional revenue, which would really help close the gap.
Yeah, and we had put that in there. We would assumed that we were going to get that. Thanks, Jay, for that. I'm going to move along. I have a couple more items that I need to. You can stay there because you might want to add something to it. Mike and Bruce, I'm gonna tap you to maybe just give us a little update on what's going on the Prairie Lakes Wellness Center. So, whichever one wants to light it up first, you're welcome to go. Should we flip a coin?
Well, most of the work that's been done now is on the finish work on the inside. So by that, we're talking about finished painting. There's a lot of tile going in. There's carpet going in. There's finished fixturing going in as far as cabinetry and countertops and front desk areas being developed and with the countertops there. The specialty flooring for some of the courts or the spaces upstairs will be going in relatively soon. The 5 gym spaces are all completely finished, painted, and sealed, and they look beautiful. They absolutely look wonderful. So a majority, if you go in there, and it's exciting to go in there literally every day right now, and that is there's physical changes that you're seeing every day that are taking place. I know cabinetry was, or lockers and cubbies were going in last week. It's looking like right now that sometime within the first 2 weeks, I believe, of February, substantial completion would be done. We would then go through the checklist, get some things wrapped up, go through the training cycle that we have to on that building, which is going to be fairly significant. So it's looking like we're scheduled for late February, March 1st kind of time frame. So that's pretty exciting.
Thanks, Mike. The only thing I'd add, I guess, is the pool is coming along very nicely as well. And I believe they were talking January we'd start painting that pool. I believe is the time frame for that. You know, the water slide, I actually went over there today and looked at a few things today, some racquetball court issues that we're dealing with. But, yeah, everything's coming along swimmingly. I talked to the construction manager today, and he said it's, pardon the pun, I didn't mean to say, but, no, I really didn't, but I'll take it anyway. Yeah, sorry about that. But, no, and we continue to meet. It was, like every other week, and sometimes we're meeting every week and walking through and looking at little things, little changes that need to take place as we complete the project. We've got signage. Obviously, haven't seen any of that. That's another component that will be coming into play here pretty soon. The signage on the building and also the wayfinding signs and so forth. But yeah, it couldn't be nicer. I don't think. I think the public's going to be pleasantly surprised to see this facility when it's done. It's going to be beautiful.
One of the things I found is that we are not the only ones that don't read our emails. Some of the construction workers don't either. So when they tell them to stay off the walking track because it's freshly painted, they didn't get the memo. They walked on it. Yeah. So they had to redo it. So there's a lot of little things like that. It's just kind of irritating, but it is, guys. I will tell you that if you have an opportunity to get up there, go and take a look. Grab your hard hat and go and have Jason or Jack give you a little tour. Thanks for doing that. Thanks for bringing us an update on that.
Well, one thing, Steve, I don't want to forget this. Randy, I just want to let you know that the hot yoga is also coming along very nicely. So. You and I will be able to get into the hot yoga.
What color Speedo you wearing?
Now, don't leave. I want to, thanks for that. I think we're going to move on. We're going to talk a little bit about the gun range. I think you've been involved in that too, haven't you, Jay?
I have. Unfortunately, I've had to miss a couple of the last meetings,
right.
But
Shane's got some pictures up there for us. I'm going to just give you a little heads up on what's happening. This is and I'm sorry my chicken scratch is on there, because we're talking to different people about things we can do. On the far right there, you're going to see that's a 200-yard rifle range. And there's, I can't see up there. Let me grab my papers here. It tells you how many benches are in that.
That's 5.
There's 5 benches on the 200 one.
And then you go to the next one, which is a 100-yard range. There's 10 benches there, and there's 10 benches to the next. The next two are really what we're looking at is pistol ranges, or they can use them possibly for archery, just many, many things that can be done on that. But on those, there's actually 3 benches on each for the 25-yarders. Off to the left there, you'll see I have kind of on the very bottom there, it says non-toxic. We are going to allow shotguns to be shooting out there where they can throw their clay pigeons in that area and do that kind of stuff. We're not going to have anything with, like the rabbits running or the pheasants or the duck coming in or anything like that. It just really is just throwing clay pigeons out. But I want to give you an update on that. Now, this is really being spearheaded by most of the H2O20 group that's working on this, and we're having meetings at the police station constantly. But the game fishing parks are the ones that have drawn this up, and Shane has been very instrumental on working with them to make sure we're not in the floodway. They're talking on the sides. We need to have a little bit of talk on that, I think, on the berms that are 8 foot high here, 20 foot on the backside. But 1.5 to 1 is really pretty high, makes it hard to mow. I'm kind of hoping we can maybe get that 3.5 to 1 or 3 to 1, something like that, so people can mow it. Or maybe you got something that's not going to grow up there.
Actually, we one of the discussions we'll probably have is if we want to keep it steeper, planting varieties of grass that we wouldn't have to mow and maintain that,
I like that too.
maybe could just live with and not have that expensive maintenance.
Right. And then if you go to the other print or picture, kind of give an idea on that one. There you go. On the very bottom, that's kind of what your stoppage is going to be, to stop the bullets from going through. You're going to see mainly that is like railroad ties. The Lake Area Tech, I will tell you, is really involved in this project. They're looking at making most of the steel plates for us to tie the ties together. They're going to be working on the benches. On the very top, that's kind of where you're, the cover over everything. The lake area is all on board fixing this for us. That's probably one of the most expensive parts of it is to get the bench area done. So we're hoping we can come in with a lot of extra help on that. We will be approaching all the facilities, like the Dakota Sportsman's, the white-tailed deer. I think I have a meeting with the Sportsman's tomorrow night, if I'm not mistaken, that will be presenting this, and we're going to be asking them to maybe get on board and help us do a little financing on this project. So that's just a little update on the gun range. So if you got any questions, throw them out there.
And there will be quite a little funding through Pittman Robertson as well, correct?
Oh, yeah. This is, I think they have $270,000 that they're putting towards this project. And that, of course, is, if you're not familiar with that, that's where every time you buy a box of shells or a gun of any kind, there's a tax that goes on there that flows into that, which flows to the state, and then they are able to help us out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? It's exciting, guys. All right. Thanks, Jay.
Thank you.
I only had one other thing that I wanted to bring up to you tonight. Today on the radio and all over, I heard Governor Dugard talking about their sales tax, the state sales tax. Gosh, I think I heard him saying in 1 month we were down $1 million, and next month we were down $3 million, and the next month down $5 million, now $8 million. For a total, we're down about $200 million. But I wanted to bring you up to date on water towns, because if you remember right, we had a couple of 2-3 months that were pretty tough, and there was a lot of questions about, what's going on, what's happening in Watertown. Well, I wanted to bring you up to date for actual numbers for this year. We're seeing an actual 2% increase in our sales tax over last year. We're currently up for the 2 pennies, $269,308, and I think that's just wonderful that people are out shopping local and helping our economy. So I wanted to share that with you. We feel the pain of the state, but actually it's pretty good right here.
Steve, just a question. How much of that decline on the state level do they believe is as a result of like online shopping? Have they said anything about that?
I know that online shopping has an effect to it. They say that there is an effect on that. But I think what you're really seeing is you're seeing the farm economy, you know, because we don't get a sales tax on buying of a combine or a tractor or anything that the farm community buys. We don't get any of that sales tax. They're seeing a lot of dollars, you know, that haven't been spent, I guess is what I'm saying. The farm economy has, you know, the price of corn has come down and the price of wheat and the cost of putting it in. So they're really tightened up their belt substantially. So I think that's where the state has really seen a
Just be careful when you say we don't see any of that farm economy dollars, because a lot of those farmers, I know where you're coming from, but
no, don't get me
this,
wrong.
I mean, our community relies a lot on our agricultural community to come in and spend dollars in town, and
No, I didn't mean that
Yeah,
at all.
yeah, and I know-
It sounded
I know what
like
you meant.
Because, but we do not get anything off of a combine or a
Yeah.
tractor. But when they're in town buying groceries, they're buying it. Absolutely, we depend. If we didn't have the Florences or the Henrys
Yeah.
or the South Shores or those particular cities, we'd be screwed.
Yeah.
So we really need to be aware of those dollars.
Yep.
What?
I think the online part, gonna,
Brad's used to it. He's just sitting there saying, "Oh no, Dad, stop it already, will ya?"
yeah.
Here, knock it out.
I think if you were to go do a little bit of studying on it, you'll find that online is probably
It's pretty big.
20, 25, 30% of that at least, so.
Yeah. Now, I remember, John, your dad actually, every time he bought something online, he went to the Department of Revenue and filled out the papers and paid his tax. Now, if we all did that, we wouldn't have that hurt.
There was a deal just the other day that how you can go on there and do that. I mean, there was a deal, I can't remember if it was on Callo or whatever, but there was I can bet you most people never look into it.
Don, have you ever done it? No, you probably don't buy online. Yeah, I don't either. So anyhow, well, thank you very much, everybody. I think it's been a great work session. Did you need to say something? You sure? He's ready to crawl under the table already. Thanks, guys. I'm going to adjourn this meeting. We'll see you back at 7 o'clock.